All right. Seems like just about everybody has been able to join. Again, thank you so much for joining us for this webinar. We are going to be chatting a little bit about the different career opportunities within the field of the social sciences. The webinar tonight is presented to you by the STARS College Network. We'll talk a little bit about what STARS offers, the different resources that we have available to students. But I first want to allow our panelists to introduce themselves. We are joined by a wonderful group of different admission staff members from a total of 4 different institutions, U Chicago included, that are all part of the STARS College Network. And are each going to offer a slightly different perspective about what it's like to pursue a pathway within the career, the social sciences. So I want to kick things over to Vera to introduce herself, and then we'll kind of send things right along.
Thank you, Max. Good evening, everyone. My name is Vera Hampton. I'm the Associate Director for Diversity and Outreach at UC Berkeley. And I'll turn it over to Brenda.
Thank you, Vera. I'm Brenda Del Rio. I'm one of the Assistant Directors of Undergraduate Admission in Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Catherine.
Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine Hardy. I'm an Assistant Dean at Amherst College, which is a small liberal arts college in Western Massachusetts. Go ahead, Max.
Wonderful. Thank you all. And my name is Max Bartley. I'm an assistant director at the University of Chicago and get to do a lot of really cool work with our rural student programming in the STARS College Network. So before we dive into tonight's subject, the careers in the social sciences, we did want to quickly talk about the STARS College Network. We really appreciate you being here this evening, whether a student, a counselor, an educator, a family member. If this is your first STARS webinar that you've joined, or if you've been with us for multiple years and have heard this little overview of STARS a couple of different times. But the STARS College Network, the Small Town and Rural Students College Network, is a consortium of different colleges that are all really committed to supporting students from rural areas and small towns on our campus. We do this in a lot of different ways. Every single school is going to host different types of programming, fly-ins, educator events, have rural student organizations, and ultimately, we really want your perspectives on our campuses. Your voices are invaluable to the conversations that we have in our classrooms. But there are a total of 32 different schools that are all part of this college network. And we would all love to see you on campus, have you join any of our programs. So you'll see there's a really nice mix of different colleges. Tonight, I'm joined by, again, a really nice sampling of the different types of colleges out there. Every single student is going to have a set of institutions, a set of schools where you're really going to thrive. There are so many different types of colleges out there, and our goal is to use our schools as examples of the different opportunities that are truly available for you. So we want to support you through this pathway. We want to help you kind of envision what it's like to attend any of our institutions. And tonight's panel is really focused on that. We want you all to have a better sense of what exactly the social sciences are, walking through a couple of different definitions, and then also talking about the different career opportunities that you have, and using some of our students and students within the STARS College Network as examples of different pathways that you could potentially take through this specific career path. So again, we host lots of different programming. We do, obviously, these virtual webinars, as you have likely seen, covering a wide range of different topics. Many of our schools will host completely free on-campus programs, whether this is for current rural students or current rural educators and counselors. So staying up to date on the mailing list is a great way to continue to learn about opportunities, whether they're virtual or in person. We also, as a group, as a consortium of different colleges, will travel to small towns and rural areas, hosting information sessions and college fairs and access programming, and do a ton of outreach when we're traveling through a particular area. So again, that mailing list is a really great way to stay up to date on any in-person events that could be happening in your area. Our goal is to meet you where you're at and provide as much information as possible. Every single STARS institution has a contact at their school, somebody that you can go to with any questions about that program. And at the very end of our slides this evening, we have some QR codes that'll link you directly to each of our different admissions websites. So a great way to, again, learn about a wide range of different colleges and kind of continue your college search process and keep asking some questions. So I think we can dive into the topic at hand. I want to first pass things along to Vera, who's going to give a little overview about the social sciences and maybe talk through a couple of different definitions for us.
Wonderful, thank you. So what is the goal of social sciences? The goal of studying social sciences is to understand human behavior, relationships, societies, and the structures that shape them. And to be more specific and to give you a bit more direct example, social sciences aim to explain human behavior, understand why individuals and groups think, act, interact in the way that they do. Analyze social structures, so study institutions like family, government, economy, and education to see how they function and affect people's lives. Understand cultural and historical context, so examine how culture, history, and environment shape societies and their development. Solve social problems, so apply insights to address issues like inequality, poverty, crime, education gaps, and public health challenges. Promote civic engagement, so help individuals become informed about being responsible citizens by understanding social issues and participating in solutions. And lastly, support policy and decision making, so provide evidence and analysis to guide public policies, law, and governance. So disciplines within social sciences include but are not limited to sociology, psychology, economics, political science, ethnic studies, gender and women's studies, and anthropology. Each contribute different perspectives, but share that overarching goal. So who is a good fit for a social science degree? Someone who is curious about people, societies, and how the world works. A good fit might have the following traits. And you don't have to have all of these, but some of these might spark your interest. So curious about human behavior. So you're interested in why people think and act the way they do. You enjoy observing, analyzing social interactions. You're interested in social issues. So cares about justice, inequity, politics, education, or health, wants to understand and solve world problems. You're good at communication, and that would be, anywhere from reading, writing, discussing, and debating ideas. You can explain thoughts clearly and listen to others' perspectives. You're a critical thinker, so you like to ask questions, challenge assumptions, and look at multiple sides of an issue. You're research oriented, so you're curious about data, evidence, and trends. You're willing to do interviews, surveys, or statistical analysis. And then you're empathetic and open minded, so interested in different cultures, perspectives, and experiences. You really want to make that positive impact on individuals and/or communities. And I'll turn it over to Brenda.
Thank you, Vera. Yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit about how one might go about preparing for social sciences, because it can be a little bit of a broader area in regards to the majors that are available. So preparing for it might come with a little bit of confusion, but honestly, it's a lot easier than you might think. So you'll want to check with of course, your high school curriculum and just assess what resources are available to you, so that way you can better take advantage of those classes that might better prepare you for that college environment that you're looking to go into. So you'll definitely want to start by checking with each university and program for the requirements. For example, some universities might be more strict with their foreign language requirements versus others might be a little bit more lenient as to how many years they prefer to see on your transcript, for example. So making sure you do your research, and so that you can better prepare for that transition. And once you start declaring those majors, will really help you out. And you'll really want to make sure that you're focusing on a strong breadth in your course load that you're taking on. So Of course, tackling those math classes will be really helpful, especially if you're really interested in those research opportunities. And you'll also want to ensure that you're tackling those courses that do a lot of reading and writing heavy coursework, as a lot of these social science majors do take in a lot of writing, particularly for those essays that you'll be submitting as a college student. And as for those extracurricular experiences, there's a handful of ways that you can prepare yourself, but the best thing that you can do is just to be involved in things that you're genuinely passionate about, however way that looks like. And for you all, that can translate into a lot of different unique experiences, such as maybe being a student body president because you're really passionate about those politics, or just leading a human body, for example. Maybe you're more of an experimental learner and you're hands-on and you prefer to go and do the research yourself, or you want to step to the side and conduct your own research opportunity because you're just that curious, for example. But definitely focusing on that humanity aspect will be important. So working with other people and other groups will also prepare you further for those extracurricular experiences. And so these are just a few of the majors that you can go or consider looking into if you're interested in the social science area. Maybe some of these majors, one or all of them, call out to you, or a mix of a few. But if you're interested in kind of seeing what specific majors that you can go into for the kind of experiences that you're looking to really create with your education, these are some really great ones to consider. So anthropology, comparative human development, criminology, law and justice, economics, environment, geography, and urbanization, ethics and public policy, geography, history, laws, letter and society, international relations, political science, philosophy, psychology, social justice, social work, sociology, race, diaspora, and indigeneity. So as you all can see, they all have a large compass of discussion, a lot of writing coursework that you can anticipate, but most importantly, working with others. And I'll go ahead and pass that on to, I believe, Catherine.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit about skills learned with a social science major, because I think it can also help you think about what does it mean to be in a social science major? What is the work I'm actually doing? There's a great question in our Q&A right now, and I want to encourage people to keep on putting those in there. But this question is asking, what does research even look like in the social sciences? It's more straightforward in STEM when you're working in a lab. But one of the things we have on here is you learn research skills. So what could that look like? That could look like I'm a history major in college, and over the summer, I'm going to work one-on-one with a professor. And let's say that professor is writing a book about soldiers' experiences with the draft during the Vietnam War. I, as a researcher in their field, that could be doing research and providing them with a literature review of Black men's experiences with the draft during the Vietnam War. I provide them with the literature review, and I myself write a thesis-driven paper about the same research that I'm doing. I'm providing that good for my professor and doing something for myself as well. Research could also look like I'm interested in psychology and economics, and I want to do an interdisciplinary project with a professor on behavioral economics. And I'm going to design an experiment to see how is it that are people making decisions rationally about how to use $5 when donating to a charity of choice. So you can be doing lots of different types of research, both designing experiments, doing much more analytical research that you would think of as I'm sitting in the library and pulling primary sources. There's all sorts of different types of research that can be done. If you think about it too, you can think about qualitative and quantitative research. Am I a statistics person? Do I like digging in census data and pulling out the numbers? Or am I maybe more interested in a sociology department that might allow me to learn how to conduct interviews in a way that I can craft a story that's meaningful? So with all of these social science disciplines, don't think of research as just a STEM thing. There's tons of research being done across the fields. It just might not look like sitting in a lab. It might be more human-centric, to be quite honest. So some of these other skills that are learned and that are developed as a social science major, your analytical skills. How do I pull a lot of different research and create a cohesive story with it? Communication skills, like my peers were saying, that's not just written skills, but also speaking, critical thinking skills. There's problem solving skills. This is within our own research when we're looking into questions, but it's also how do I work well with others? And if you are someone who is really skilled at creating teams, pulling strengths from others, there are so many fields in the social sciences where human connection matters. And that's a real skill that you can hone in on. You can go ahead and go to the next slide, Max. So just to give you really broad, what are some careers in the social sciences? There are tons of careers in education. And this is anywhere in education from, I would say, teaching in preschools to teaching at the college level. All four of us here have careers in education, working in admissions offices. So it's not just a teaching career, it can also be connected to schools through counseling, through admissions, through student services. Other jobs that I think sometimes people don't think about that are really human-centered could be public-facing jobs. Law enforcement is one we have here, working with people directly. A social science career can really prepare, or a social science degree can really prepare you to do that. Social work and counseling is a key area. And social work is not just one-on-one counseling. There's also a lot of social work that can be done through nonprofits and supporting community-based organizations. So whether you want to work one-on-one with students like a social worker would in a school, you can also be working on a more macro scale. How can we make food more available to this part of my neighborhood in the area that I'm growing up in? Those are also things that social workers do. Higher education and student affairs, we spoke about a bit. Counseling, which can take all sorts of different degrees in order to get to that kind of career. Lots of research, human resources and recruitment. And if you're a person who is interested in interdisciplinary learning, we put in agriculture and environment in here. You don't have to get a science degree to go into what is commonly thought of as a science field. In fact, I think it's not known well. Some students from Amherst go on to medical school with social science and humanities degrees. These are skills that are transferable. They're skills that employers are looking for. And it really helps a student and a future worker be flexible if they can think critically, speak critically, and write critically. And that's what the social sciences are all about. Go ahead, Max.
Wonderful. I really appreciate that overview from Catherine, Brenda, and Vera. I just wanted to offer up just a few more examples too of what practically social scientists are doing around the world, but more specifically at the University of Chicago. I wanted to offer two examples, talking a little bit more about what this work actually ends up looking like. And then after that, we'll walk through some student profiles so you can learn about how these skills are developed and cultivated, and then ultimately can be used for a variety of different career pathways. But again, also wanted to offer up a couple of different examples. I think it is oftentimes challenging to think about what research looks like outside of STEM fields. So research comes in all sorts of different shapes and forms, but one really cool thing about the social sciences is that oftentimes researchers are sparked by or with questions about problems that they're really interested and passionate about solving. So they see an issue in the world and they want to learn a little bit more about what may be causing that issue, can dedicate a lot of time researching past historical texts or doing interviews with people in their community to learn about what the issue exactly is, kind of all the details, and gather a lot of information to, again, come up with solutions on how to better serve the areas and try to answer some of these challenges and questions that they are encountering. So I wanted to first offer an example of a UChicago professor, Claudia Golden, who recently won a Nobel Peace Prize for the work that she was doing, talking about and researching the history of women in the labor market. So again, this is likely a question, a problem she was really interested and passionate about learning more about and talking about and researching and publishing and sharing with a lot of people, and obviously being recognized for the impactful work that ends up happening. Another interesting example is how social scientists can be really incorporated into a lot of different academic paths and why we need social scientists in pretty much every single aspect and career field. So in 1947, the Doomsday Clock was created. It actually lives at the University of Chicago in our Harris School of Public Policy. And every single year, a group of scientists, social scientists, and nuclear physicians all come together and have conversations about where they need to set the clock based on a variety of different factors. In 1947, the Doomsday Clock was primarily concerned with the fate of a nuclear disaster. They're oftentimes setting these hands pertinent to midnight or adjacent to midnight based on how different countries were developing nuclear weapons and the progress that these countries were making towards ultimately having these weapons in these facilities. But then after the Cold War, there are a lot of ideas about what exactly it means to move these hands forward and progress. And there are a lot of social scientists that have been incorporated into the conversations about where exactly these hands need to be set every single year based on geopolitical factors, based on economic impacts of different around the world, based on the environment and global warming and climate change. So again, a lot of conversations that scientists are having across different fields to ultimately come to these conclusions. And oftentimes social scientists are really essential in many of these conversations to add the nuance and talk about those social issues that we may want to consider again in these conversations. So again, are just a couple other examples of the research that can happen within the field. We also wanted to offer up examples of what some students are doing in this pathway, in this field specifically, and use our STARS institutions or STARS adjacent institutions to really kind of walk you through what exactly practically this might look like for you or for a student from the past. So I have one of our wonderful students, Felix Gonzalez, who graduated from the University of Chicago twice now, both their undergrad degree and their master's here, and they graduated in 2024. But Felix was interested in the social sciences. You saw a little bit of that interest in high school. And throughout his college career, really focused on particular issues and topics that he found to be the most interesting. I want to kind of walk you through all the different steps that Felix ended up taking to pursue this pathway, in case it's beneficial for you as you're thinking about what the next steps might be for you in high school, and then potentially even when you get to college, the kind of work that you could end up doing. So in high school, Felix he grew up in a smaller town in Tennessee of about 2,000 people, and ended up taking on a demanding curriculum. He ended up taking on an IB curriculum. Now, an IB curriculum may not be available for many students around the world or within the US, but Felix knew that he really liked taking the challenging courses that were available to him. And for him, an IB curriculum is where he found the most difficult courses. So oftentimes when we're talking with students about what it means to be successful in a college admissions review process, and they're looking at selective institutions or colleges where they want to be challenged in the classroom, oftentimes we will encourage them to take the difficult courses that are available for them. But we also understand that every single high school is going to offer a very different curriculum. So if you're a current high school student and you enjoy taking the challenging courses that are available to you, it's a really good indication that you will enjoy your time on a college campus as well. So again, this could look like an IB curriculum, but also this could look like taking some dual enrollment classes or honors courses or any AP courses that you have available to you. You never expect students to take classes that are not available to them. But again, in Felix's case, he had this IB curriculum available and was really interested in global studies and interdisciplinary learning itself. Throughout high school, Felix ended up holding a few different positions in student government. He was making a meaningful impact on his high school community. And oftentimes, students will find their way into a variety of different extracurricular activities. You may find that your extracurriculars are something that you continue throughout your entire college experience, or sometimes those extracurriculars are just really meaningful experiences and can ultimately inform what you end up doing in college or take you on a completely different pathway as well. Felix had the opportunity to participate in a summer program in between his junior and senior year, then ultimately decided that he was interested in a liberal arts college where he could be challenged in the classroom and take on a variety of different courses available to him. There are a few different factors that Felix was using as he was building his college list and ultimately narrowing that list down to the schools that he was really excited about. He knew he wanted to be within an 8-hour radius, an 8-hour driving radius from home. He knew he wanted to be really invested and have a school that would be have a lot of resources, mental health resources, and need-based financial aid. So as you're building your own list of colleges, there are a lot of different factors that you can be considering. You will obviously want to consider some academic pathways that you might be interested in, different career supports and opportunities that you have available to you, but other very practical factors like distance from home are also things that you can be considering as well. Felix ended up scheduling a few different visits, and oftentimes these visits ended up being virtual. He wasn't able to visit a lot of different colleges. And virtual opportunities, whether these are virtual college visits or webinars, are a great way to gather a lot of information and just really see what's out there. Once he arrived at the University of Chicago, he decided he was really interested in pursuing the social sciences and ultimately decided to major in both Latin American studies and education and society as a double major. He took a lot of different classes. Within our core curriculum, students are taking a wide variety of courses, but again, really kind of specializing within the social sciences. He ultimately ended up interning in the Office of College Admissions, so getting some of that higher education background and experience. He interned for the Center for Latin American Studies and was ultimately advocating a lot for increased financial aid at UChicago, and was really excited to continue his work in higher education. He's actually been accepted to a few different PhD programs and plans on continuing to study and pursue education broadly, really interested in a lot of access work that ends up happening. So again, this is just one example of a potential pathway that a high school student took to one of our institutions. This is not the only pathway that students are taking to our different colleges out there. But again, just a more practical example of what exactly it can look like to be a high school student and realize that you might have some passion or interest within this field more broadly. We have a few different examples for you, so I want to pass things over to Catherine to profile a student at Amherst as well.
Yeah, so the student I'm going to be profiling is a rising sophomore. She's still pretty young at Amherst. Her name is Litsi, and Litsi's from rural California. She actually was part of a graduating class of only 21 students. And she only had 5 teachers in her high school. And so in order to supplement the classwork that she had available to her, she was lucky to be able to connect with a local community college where she did take some additional classes and coursework to make sure she was prepared for the rigor of college ahead of her. In addition to taking kind of the highest level of rigor she had available to her, she also did a lot outside of school. She was really involved in Girls State, mock trial, and youth advocacy work in California. She was able to start some of these statewide initiatives that were happening in Los Angeles and San Francisco and Sacramento in her own little town. And the scale of that looked a lot different, but it was really cool for us to be looking at this and saying, wow, she sees the impact at a local level of what social scientists are going to be wanting to do. So we found that to be really interesting on our end. In her college search, Litsi was intentional, I would say. She likes that fact that she was from a small town. She liked a small knit community, and she knew she wanted that in college as well. And to make sure, she utilized fly-in programs. So she came to our fall fly-in program called Access to Amherst. And she sought out a school with an open curriculum, small classes, and she came to us through the QuestBridge process. So she also was able to find some different resources and networks to open up opportunities for herself. On our campus right now, just as a freshman, she is a writer for the Amherst Student, which is our student newspaper. She is an intern in our communications office. She does a lot of work on our social media account. So if you go onto our Instagram, Litsi is on there for sure. And she works in the admission office as one of our rural student ambassadors. So reaching back out to rural students in high schools and saying, hey, here are opportunities available to you at a place like Amherst. For career advising, she, as a freshman, utilized our career center already. And she was able to get a research position this summer at Harvard's developmental psychology lab. This was an unpaid internship that was offered to Lizzie, but through our career services office, she turned it into a paid option. So we have a program called the Micklejohn Fellows, and she took advantage of that and was able to get a stipend to go live in Boston this summer and be able to work in Harvard's lab. In the future, she's still a sophomore. She's not quite sure what she wants to do yet. That's part of the joy of going to college, is you have a lot of doors open to you when you enter. She knows that she does want to go into developmental psychology, and the door's still open, whether she wants to do that through research, through getting a medical degree, or going into a more social context and going into counseling. So her hope is that each summer while she's here at Amherst, she's going to be able to intern in each one of those fields and see which is the best fit for her.
And I have Myra Gomez. And Myra attends University of Iowa, class of 2027, political science major, and news and media literacy minor. And so for high school, Myra attended a small school in Iowa, took dual enrollment courses through a local community college, participated in Center for Advanced Professional Studies course to learn more about her career path, and interviewed professionals in the social sciences. For her college search, she looked for student opportunities, campus size, looked at diverse perspectives, diversity in areas of study, and utilized the virtual tour options frequently. She established relationship with advisors who used advising to explore additional areas of study, and took advantage of resources to learn about career options, aptitude testing, and connected with local organizations for experiential learning. And for her future plans, she's planning to attend grad school in hopes of working in campaigning or government affairs.
Awesome. And so I'm covering Molly, who graduated from Brown. And so Molly is awesome right from the get-go. She attended a public high school in upstate New York and is school president all 4 years, has won several science research awards at the state level. She's a town ambulance corps volunteer and a political intern. So right off the bat, we can tell that Molly is someone that is not only really passionate about serving the general public, but she's also really concerned for their well-being. And so a lot of that innate passion is supplemented by her extracurriculars and what she's accomplished. And so her Excellence in Humanities Research Award, and specifically, she's been able to focus on the prison system. So further goes to show how concerned she is with the general public in terms of her research approach. Is something that she really likes to tap into. And it shows again in her strong testing, her academics, and her really excellent involvement in student government, as well as her consistent leadership. And so when it comes to her college search, rightfully so, Molly is a little bit split into going into the medical field or into the political science field, because she's really passionate about both areas, as we can see, but it's something that she's been able to easily combine. So in her college search, she does the same thing. She looks for an institution that will allow her to tap into both of these passions and create something that is unique to her. And so a lot of her involvement on her college campus on Brown doesn't change all that much. It's just translated into that Brown setting. So she's still continuing to serve the general public by being involved with student government. She's diving deeper into public health this time by being more involved with disease research. And in her career development, she becomes a little bit more passionate about public health, because again, that interest about the general public, being a leader, but also that concern for their well-being easily translated into what for her became a strong passion for public health. And funnily enough, she's actually not working in public health right now. She's working as an admissions officer at Brown, but she's currently enrolled in a master's to pursue a degree in public health. And so I really like using Molly as an example because it just goes to show how a lot of these social science degrees, a lot of that knowledge obtained is easily translated into different skill sets. So know that you're also not going to be married to that major, that career outcome. You can easily translate those skills into different skill sets or different trade or different job opportunities. So that's also something that you have that benefit of your back pocket, is knowing that a lot of these skills can be generally applied and you can easily take your powerhouse anywhere that you go.
Amazing. Thank you all for profiling and highlighting some of our students pursuing pathways within the social sciences. And at this stage, for many of you as high school students, it's a great time to ask questions. So gather information that's out there, learn about the different colleges that are available for you. Think about potentially the different pathways that you might be interested in pursuing. But as we saw, once you arrive at any of our different institutions or really any other college or university out there, there's so much more exploration that oftentimes ends up happening. So you don't need to figure out exactly what you would like to study immediately or come up with an entire career trajectory quite yet. Now, again, is a great time to just gather the information and see everything that's going to be available for you. So I've actually linked all 4 of our websites, so feel free to scan any of these QR codes if you are able to. We are also very, very easy people to reach and easy websites to find. So if you're interested in any of our different institutions or any of the institutions in the STARS College Network, you can usually just look up the school name followed by the word admissions, and you'll get a ton of information about what it's like to apply to any of our different schools, but also a ton of information about the schools more generally. You can look through the list of different majors that are being offered, career support available on our campuses, connect with current students or staff members. And we are here as your resources. Thank you all for everybody who's been asking questions in the Q&A. If there are any other lingering questions, we are more than happy to answer those in the Q&A or even answer those live as well. So feel free to keep using that Q&A as you wish. And also don't hesitate to reach out to us if you think of any questions that come up after this webinar has wrapped up. So again, as I mentioned, we are all here as resources. We want to help you through this process, try to make this oftentimes complex decision-making process a little bit more simpler and more accessible for you as a student. So we would love to continue to hear from you, continue to engage from you. Don't be a stranger. Feel free to, again, use us as your resources. Don't see any questions coming through now, which is totally okay. Really appreciate everybody who was able to use that Q&A feature to get some of your questions answered. I'll also link the STARS College Network website here. As a reminder, we are actually a group of 32 different member institutions, all with the same goal of providing information for you and really sharing as much as we are able to. I just saw a question come through in the chat here, so I want to make sure that I've got time to answer that too. And it's a great question. I know Brenda's typing an answer, but I'm also happy to give my little UChicago pitch as well here, because I think this is a really great question. Question being about being interested in becoming an attorney in women's rights and what kind of college majors you can choose to pursue that pathway specifically. The really good news is that oftentimes our schools are going to have a variety of different majors that you could choose from to pursue a pathway within the field of law, be a pre-law student. Sometimes these are really specific courses or even a curriculum that you would end up following in order to be a pre-law student, while other times you might be able to choose from just about any major out there and receive career and academic support in order to be a pre-law student. Typically, our institutions aren't going to have really specific pre-law pathways where you would declare your field of law or your specialization as an undergraduate student. oftentimes these are kind of broad examples of the kind of different career pathways out there. You can get a little taste of a variety of different law fields, then ultimately choose what you might be interested in. That being said, if you are somebody who does have a really good idea of the type of law that you are interested in pursuing and the people that you would like to advocate for, you can often incorporate those specific interests into the classes that you end up taking, or even internships that you end up taking on as an undergraduate student. Ultimately, when you go off to grad school, you can absolutely, again, specialize in a number of different ways. But as an undergraduate student, you can oftentimes find those really specific or particular opportunities through classes that you are able to choose. All of our colleges are going to have a really vast curriculum of a huge range of different classes you can take. You can choose the ones that you find to be especially interesting. But a great question. Really appreciate you all being here this evening. Again, please continue to use us as resources and continue to join other STARS events, whether they're in person or virtual. But I hope you all have a wonderful day and see you at the next event.